Hello students, I welcome you all again in this lecture series on the paper titled English Phonetics and Linguistics. In this paper, unit number 1 is on ELT in India, that is English language teaching in India. In my previous lecture, I already covered the topic, that is how English entered in India, and gradually it became the instrument of protest for Indians. Today in this lecture, we will cover the first topic of this unit, that is the advent and rise of English. Dear students, as we already discussed, that English entered in India by the Britishers and gradually it became an important part of our education system. So this topic is not only about language, but it is about history, it is about society, it is about power, and it is about our identity. When the British came to India, they did not just bring trade, they also brought new system of education and administration. As we go ahead in this presentation, I'll try to pose a question and we all will be trying to find out the answer to this question. The question is, was English introduced to help Indians or mainly to support British rule? As many scholars say that language is closely connected to power. So in this presentation, in this lecture, this idea will guide us and our understanding on English language teaching. As we all know that before the arrival of English, India already had a well-developed system of education. Learning took place in institutions like Gurukuls, Patishalas and Madrasas, where students were taught in Sanskrit, Persian and regional languages. The focus was on subjects such as philosophy, religion, mathematics, grammar and astronomy. Dear students, this all shows that India was not lacking knowledge, rather it followed its own what I can say, centuries old traditional system of learning. And when the Britishers came to India in 1600 through the East India Company, their focus was trade. And over time, they began gaining political control, especially after the Battle of Plassey in 1757. And as their power increased, they needed a common language for administration, communication, and to control this country. This is when English slowly started entering Indian society. My dear students, at this age, English was not introduced for education in a broader sense, but it was mainly focused and used for official purposes. So this shows that this language often was connected with political authority. One of the early supporters of English education in India was Charles Grant. In 1792, he proposed that English should be introduced to spread Western knowledge and Christian values and also to make administration easier. And later on, this Charter Act of 1813 became an important step because it allowed missionaries to come to India and also provided funds for education. This marked the beginning of formal British involvement in Indian education. And my dear students, from this point onwards, education started becoming a tool not only for learning but also for influencing Indian society. At this stage, an important debate took place between two groups, and these two groups were Orientalists and Anglicists. You must be wondering who were Orientalists and who were Anglicists. So the Orientalists were those who were in support of Indian languages, and the Anglicists were those who wanted to promote English education in India. So the Orientalists wanted Indian languages and supported traditional knowledge, while the Anglicists supported English and Western education in India. So this debate was all about deciding the future directions of education in India. Many formalists like Raja Ram Mohan Roy supported English education, but Raja Ram Mohan Roy's aim was different from the British. He believed that English would help Indians gain access to modern science, knowledge, and this language will help in bringing change and bring social reform in our country. Because he believed education should focus on useful knowledge which could improve society. Then later on in 1835, there was a change. My dear students, you must have heard of Lord Macaulay. In 1835, Macaulay's Minute became a turning point in the history of English education in India. He strongly argued that English should be the medium of instruction and that Western knowledge was superior to Indian knowledge system. And there is a very famous statement which is used by the linguists whenever they need to discuss the English education in India. And this statement is, I quote, "A single shelf of a good European library was worth the whole native literature of India," and I unquote. So Lord Macaulay's this statement clearly reflects his viewpoint about English language and the Indian society. He also aimed to create a class of Indians who would think and act like the British and who is in color and culture an Indian. So this decision led to the official promotion of English education in India. So what was the impact of all this change? The introduction of English education had both positive and the negative side effects. On the positive side, it introduced modern education, scientific knowledge, and new career opportunities for Indians. It also helped in the growth of a new educated middle class Indian society. But on the negative side, it mainly benefited the elite sections of society, while many people remained excluded. It also led to the decline of traditional Indian education system and languages. My dear students, this all shows that English education created both progress and inequality. So my dear students, in this lecture, we tried to understand that English was introduced in India as a part of British colonial policy, mainly for political and administrative purposes. However, over time, Indians adopted and adapted English for their own needs, including education, reform, communication, and protest. Today, English plays an important role as a global and linked language in India. I quote David Crystal here, who said that a language becomes global because of the power of its users. I unquote. This means that English in India is no longer just a colonial language but also a tool for growth and opportunity. We will continue this rise of English in India during colonial period in the next lecture. Till then, goodbye.